Video games have a unique strength that no other entertainment medium does, in that they transport us to fantastic, interesting locations and make us feel thoroughly immersed in them. In this feature, let's talk about what have been 15 of our favorite locations in video games in the last few years, whether that's because of the number of things we can do in them or because of the atmosphere or a strong visual design. For the sake of convenience, we're going to be looking at recent games only, otherwise we'd have to make this a top 100 list. Also, keep in mind that when we say locations, we're talking about very specific locations within the games, not entire maps. So don't expect to see the likes of Los Santos or Hyrule included in here. The scope of the locations we're talking about is much smaller. Note, there might be slight location-specific spoilers ahead for the games that are mentioned. Athens, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. The entirety of ancient Greece in Assassin's Creed Odyssey is huge, varied, and absolutely breathtaking, but the moment when you first lay your eyes on Athens in the distance will stay with you forever. The huge, bustling city has incredible structures littered all around that you can look at and climb on top of all day, while the city itself is also home to a large number of excellent activities, from quests to side quests to enemy bases to be cleared out and much, much more. Memphis, Assassin's Creed Origins. Assassin's Creed Origins shares many of the strengths that Odyssey boasts of as well, with one of those being a large, stunning open-world environment. And while there are many locations within Origins' ancient Egypt that stand out, Memphis has to be the one that does so the most. Much like Athens and Odyssey, Memphis is a huge and heavily populated city full of interesting things to look at and activities to take part in. In Origins' vast stretches of sand and desert, Memphis' greenery and water also provide a lot of welcome variety. Saint-Denis, Red Dead Redemption 2. The moment you first lay your eyes on Saint-Denis in Red Dead Redemption 2 is a moment you'll never forget. After spending large sections of the game in wild, untamed locations, from rolling green plains to desert areas to frozen mountaintops, here comes an industrial, bustling urban cityscape where people dress unlike anyone in the entire game, and the buildings give off a sense of civilization that just feels so alien in a setting like Red Dead Redemption's. This is also the home of some of the most interesting quests and personalities you will come across in the entire game, making every trip into the city that much more memorable. The Lake of Nine, God of War. The Lake of Nine is the sort of area we could have never imagined seeing in a God of War game. Here's a series that had been strictly linear and narrow in its design for years, with God of War 2018 itself starting out in a similar fashion as well. The moment Kratos and Atreus row their boat out of a stream in a cave and enter this huge, open lake, it takes a few seconds to register just what the game is telling you. Go wherever you want, do whatever you want. It's not quite open world, and it's not the largest hub area you'll ever see, but the Lake of Nine is littered with enough interesting stuff that you can easily spend stretches of hours ignoring the main story entirely. The City, Journey. Every single place you visit in Journey is one that you can basically gawk at for hours and hours on end. It's a beautiful game, to say the least. But seeing the sprawling remains of the city at the base of the mountain is an incredible experience. There's an eerie aura about the place, once large and bustling, now dead and silent, and making your way through it is one of the many, many moments in Journey that stick with you long after you're done with the game. The ruins of Hyrule Town and Hyrule Castle, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild's post-apocalyptic, desolate version of Hyrule is unlike anything the series has ever done. Seeing Hyrule under the reign of Calamity Ganon and seeing dilapidated remains of structures is a somber experience, and nothing illustrates that experience as well as when you first step into the ruins of Hyrule Town, and then further into Hyrule Castle. Once the capital of this proud, magnificent kingdom, every structure you now see is worn down and usually covered in Ganon's corruption, while hordes of his monsters and guardians are also around every corner. The fact that marching into Hyrule Castle is accompanied by one of the best tracks in the game's entire score is an added bonus. UTULEK Complex, Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Any place you visit in Deus Ex Mankind Divided, or really any of the Deus Ex games, is fascinating to explore thanks to the series' aesthetic and its vision of the near future. But the UTULEK Complex in Mankind Divided, also called Golem City, is just something else. Absolutely jam-packed with people and structures and brimming with interesting things to do and see, this is one of the densest environments we've visited in a game in the last few years. Its strong visual design and atmosphere conveys the area's cramped, claustrophobic design very well. Skellige, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. We're cheating a little bit here because Skellige isn't so much a specific location in The Witcher 3 as it is essentially 1/3 of the entire game, but boy, is it an absolutely stunning place. Full of beautiful mountains, large bodies of water, some of the best quest lines in the entire game, and characters that are equally as interesting. No place in The Witcher 3 feels as memorably alive as the Skellige Isles. Diamond City, Fallout 4. Fallout 4's Diamond City is perhaps one of the best locations we've ever seen in the entire series. In this vast, untamed, desolate land of mutants, monsters, and radiation, Diamond City is a hub of civilization, or relative civilization at the very least, where the people of the wasteland can have at least some semblance of a normal life. As a city built inside of what was once a baseball stadium, it's also a fascinating concept on paper, if nothing else. University of Eastern Colorado, The Last of Us. The Last of Us' lush and overgrown post-apocalypse has many sights to take in that have a weird, rugged beauty of their own, but no area in the game stands out as much as the University of Eastern Colorado and the area surrounding it. It's the perfect representation of the idea of nature and wildlife moving back into what was once an urban and civilized area that The Last of Us shows so expertly, and of course, it's got those giraffes. SUNSPEAR, Horizon Zero Dawn. But The Last of Us' lush post-apocalypse isn't the only one of its kind. Horizon Zero Dawn's post-apocalypse, not to be outdone by anything else on the market, is absolutely stunning in its own right, and there's so many locations in the game that we could have easily included in this list, but the city of SUNSPEAR is unmatched by anything else in Horizon, with its strong visual design and art style, its implications on the lore and the narrative, the marvelous structures the entire city is littered with, the characters and quests the city is home to. SUNSPEAR is truly an unforgettable location. Lavender Town, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. There's been no shortage of praise for Kanto's Lavender Town over the years. First appearing all the way back in the very first Pokemon games, Lavender Town returned to us once again in the very recent remakes, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and reminded us yet again why all fans of the series love this location so much. Its creepy atmosphere, the excellent music that's associated with it, the storyline that is intrinsically tied with the location, and the Pokemon Tower. There's just so much to love about Lavender Town. ALTISSIA, Final Fantasy XV. Final Fantasy has a knack for taking its players to amazingly grandiose locations, and that is something that Final Fantasy XV does again and again. One such location is the city of ALTISSIA, the capital of Accordo. This stunning city is characterized by waterfalls, canals, and beautiful thoroughfares, and you can easily bask in its beauty either on foot or during some peaceful gondola rides. One of the game's biggest set-piece battles, which is followed by a pivotal point in the story, also takes place in ALTISSIA, so it's a location that you cannot easily forget. Vinewood Hills, Grand Theft Auto V. GTA V's Los Santos is probably the most varied and detailed setting we've ever seen in a Grand Theft Auto game, and while there's many locations in the entire map that could have made it into this list, Vinewood Hills holds a special place in our memories. Posh, beautiful estates are a dime a dozen in this area, as are roads that twist and turn around hilly roads, where driving bikes is an absolute blast. Landmarks such as the Galileo Observatory and, of course, the Vinewood sign can also be found here. ANOR Londo, Dark Souls and Dark Souls 3. The abandoned, lost city of ANOR Londo is an incredibly important place in the Dark Souls series, not just because you visit it on more than one occasion, but also because of its place in the series' lore. Some of the most memorable moments across both games take place in ANOR Londo, which of course also includes boss battles that, for one reason or another, you can't put out of your mind. Add to that some excellent level design, and it's easy to rank ANOR Londo as one of the best locations in a franchise that is brimming with memorable locations. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.